I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. Stop agreeing with yourself. Stop agreeing with yourself. Hello and welcome to Glass Half Full Reviews, where we use 200% of our brain capacity. Today, I will be reviewing Lucy. So, Lucy is this newest film from French filmmaker Luc Besson, who has made such films as The Professional, or which was also called Leon overseas, or La Femme Nikita, or The Fifth Element. These are all movies he has made, and my goodness. There is something that I really need to unpack with this movie and his movies in general, but I think that's going to have to wait for a non-spoiler-free movie review. So I'm going to have like a little bit of a video essay as sort of a follow-up to this. But that's going to take me a little bit longer because I want to do a little bit more research on that. As for now, this is just going to be my extemporaneous, one-take, spoiler-free review. So, what's Lucy? It's a really interesting concept. So, basically you have this character, Lucy, played by Scarlett Johansson. No last name, because no last name needed. And that is 100% thematically connected. It's so clear what it means. This movie can be kind of obvious with what it's trying to do, but I'll get to that in a minute. So Lucy's on vacation in Taipei in Taiwan, and she's, having a blast or whatever, and this guy that she's been hooking up with wants to hire her for a little job and basically deliver some weird, mysterious briefcase to the mysterious Mr. Zhang in the hotel. But she's like, sounds sketchy. Yeah, that sounds really sketchy. I'm not interested in that. And immediately I was thinking, oh, okay, so she's not going to be a total idiot. I was really not really sure what the movie was going to do with that, but I was very pleased about that. But this guy, he just totally handcuffs her to the briefcase, basically forces her to go in to meet with Mr. Zhang. And essentially, as you might expect, she gets involved in a drug smuggling / trafficking operation where a bunch of this mysterious powder gets put inside her stomach in these, vacuum-packed bags. But due to some crazy circumstances, somehow there's a leak and all these drugs start to get into her system. Oh noes! And there's this interesting thing that starts happening as the movie is starting where it's intercut footage of animals and also of a professor, Professor Norman, played by Morgan Freeman, who is he is the voice of wisdom, the voice of intelligence, the voice of science, everything in this movie. As you might expect, that's sort of his shtick. Us as humans, we only use 10% of our brains. I know that's awful. I know that's a terrible impression. I think I could work on a little bit more, get a little bit better. But the idea is he's sort of saying, well, we only use 10% of our brain's capacity. And they do actually say capacity, but that's not... It's very pseudoscience. But that's sort of a different matter. I don't really want to get into the specifics of why it's not exactly accurate in terms of scientific stuff. But you start saying, well, what happens if we could use 20%? Well, you'd have 100% control over your body. Okay, sure, why not? You're the scientist, I guess. And if you're at 40%, why, you could control other people, and so on. You could control matter if you keep going. Like, how do you know that this could happen? It's just saying it. It's pseudoscience. That's how these movies are. But, of course, Lucy does start to have these kinds of experiences, and she's on a mission. She needs to find the other drugs. She needs to expand her mind. She needs to discover the secrets of the universe. And it's really interesting because there basically becomes a bit of a kind of an action-y chase thing that leads up to the criminals trying to track her down and kill her before she can discover the secrets of the universe. And it's a very interesting way of things to go. Now, I don't want to say exactly what happens or the specifics because that sort of ruins the whole spoiler-free aspect of things. But I really did like how you had these very different styles of connecting action beats. And of course, they do have to end up in Paris at some point because, it's Luc Besson. He has to do it. He has to bring them back to France in some way. And there weren't any other French characters, so you had to do it. So, for me, it was very interesting how that worked out. And Lucy isn't the most action-packed movie in a lot of ways. It's very weird and very philosophical, kind of campy, a very kind of Luc Besson thing to do, I think. I mean, I really did like the movie, but I could see that there's a lot of issues with it. It's kind of stupid also. It's sort of fun stupid, but it's still stupid. So I really did like it, but it's not exactly what I would call the most cerebral, if you pardon the pun. But, it doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun. Actually, I could have stand to use a little bit more of the actual kick-ass nature of the character. There just wasn't quite as much of that as I would like. On the other hand, from a logical perspective within the movie's universe of pseudoscience, it did make sense, I suppose. I can't really argue from that perspective. But, anyway, let's get into my 5-point breakdown.
5-point breakdown.
So, I thought the acting was overall pretty decent here. I mean, you had a very diverse cast from, the Chinese gangsters to the various different people of police across Europe, to Morgan Freeman, to Scarlett Johansson. And I thought she was very good. She had some really great moments before she goes, and also after. So I think, in general, I thought she did a great job. And I know a lot of people like to say that she don't think she's very good. I have always thought that she was pretty talented ever since I saw her in Lost in Translation. That's not to say I thought every movie she was in was good, or every performance she gave was good. For example, We Bought a Zoo was not good, and Nobody really was good, although Matt Damon was okay. But I think if you look at her track record now, her, Captain America 2, Under the Skin, which I'm going to get to, and now here in Lucy, I think she's been doing great, and they're all very, very different performances. So I'm really sort of impressed and happy that she's getting a little bit more recognition, because I think she's a little underrated not from a being, higher perspective, just people thinking that she's untalented or relying on her looks or anything like that. Of course, Morgan Freeman is pretty Morgan Freeman. He is not just phoning it in here, which is nice, because, sometimes he does. But here I thought he did a nice, portrayal of this guy who's a scientist, and it's like suddenly he's finding out that all of his research might be true, and it's like, now what do I do? So that was pretty fun. So the acting for the main leads was pretty good. Supporting people, fine. They were okay. All right, let's move on to number 2. And man, I can't really get into the story without really spoiling it. So I don't want to really get into it, other than once you get past the sort of silly conceit of it and accept it as 100% pseudoscience and not real, it's kind of a cool idea and an interesting take on philosophy and science and the importance of knowledge and not hoarding it, trying to advance humanity. I really like that. I thought that was an interesting idea. And I'll get to that more when I get to the point, but I actually thought the story was very well paced. This is a short movie. It's only about an hour and a half. And it just flows really well. It's paced really well, edited really well. And really just, you don't have a moment and you're like, I don't remember watching this. Which is really good. It's hard for a movie to have that. There's so many bloated movies nowadays. So, that was really nice. Number 3. And I actually did really like the look of this movie, because you had some very interesting scenes of her using her powers. They're very cool. You had some weird, trippy stuff at times that I thought also looked really cool. That was one of the things I really liked about this movie. I thought it looked fantastic. Definitely a highlight, for sure. Number 4. And, I left this movie and I said, you know what? That was a lot of fun. Stupid fun. And I still feel like that. It's not going to be like a best movie of the year thing, but it is going to be one of the most fun movie of the year. Guardians of the Galaxy is still going to be my number 1 fun movie of the year, but this is pretty good. This is a pretty fun movie. All right, let's move on to number 5. And this is where it gets tricky, because of all the weird philosophical aspects here, you sort of wonder, what's the point here? What is he trying to say? I mean, there's this whole aspect of the female idealization that Luc Besson has been doing forever. And that's what I'm going to get into with my video essay when I get to it. That part, I have to write the, actual script and do some research and stuff. But I think there's a lot of that that he likes seeing women in these positions of power, supreme power, if you will. And I think, he's always been a fan of presenting humanity in this kind of idealized way as well. And I think even when you see the dregs of people, the worst, which you definitely see here, you see some horrible people who betray their friends, people who are forced to do terrible things, and people who choose to do terrible things. And then you have people who choose to do amazing things, to sacrifice themselves for the good of humanity. And it's amazing to see from that perspective. I think, yes, it gets a little ridiculous at times, and I don't think the ending is going to play for everybody. I liked it. I thought it made sense where the movie went. I didn't think there was really another place it could have gone. There was another place it could have gone, but I'm glad it didn't go that way. And in general, I really liked it. I really thought the movie worked very well. So for me, I find it a kind of a fun, stupid time, much better than the other stupid fun movies. I mean, come on. Transformers? Turtles? No. This is better than that. This was better than Hercules, which, it beat in the weekend, and I hadn't seen it until just this last weekend. So now I can definitively say Lucy is better than Hercules. The movie. Also the character. All right. Thanks for stopping by.